For education and chastity, we are proposing that marriage and the family is sort of at the center around which we understand education and chastity. Now, unfortunately, that has been lost in the whole turbulence around the sexual revolution, feminism, and all these other things isms in during the 20th century. And together with technology that they have been introduced into human reproduction, there have been certain methods or the use of technology in ways that the church has very clearly spoken about as not being in accord with the dignity of the human person. And on the other hand, the church has spoken about some other aspects or aware or technology or knowledge or science that has been developed that is in accord right with the dignity of the human person. We're just going to talk just about three of these in this slide, which is titled Reproductive Bioethics. So first, we speak about fertility awareness and fertility awareness methods. Now, fertility awareness means having the knowledge and tools to track the female cycle in order to ensure reproductive health and also to detect early onset of pathologies that affect fertility and the gestation of new life. Understood in this way, fertility awareness is an important part of education and chastity and that begins in puberty. Okay, so we're talking about then, we said that the church has said there are some good things, okay, we have learned in science. Fertility awareness is one of them, of those things. Fertility, now there are certain methods which are for tracking fertility, which are called fertility awareness methods. So these are methods for tracking fertility that help for fertility awareness, and so all of this is very good. And they can also be used for family planning. For then a family to plan and space their children according to their circumstances with the idea of being generous. So now there are several different methods, fertility awareness methods, that rely on various combination of fertility indicators, such as basal body temperature, cervical mucus, tracking hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, the luteinizing hormone that triggers ovulation, all of this. So they see how the science can help, and has helped. So contrary to what is touted, multiple peer-reviewed studies show that FAMs are very effective when properly used for all the things that we spoke about, for ensuring reproductive health, detecting onset of pathologies, and also for family planning. There are different methods of family planning. So we spoke about FAMs, and we said yes, approved. This church has put its seal on fertility awareness methods. There are other methods that have not received that approval. Okay, we know that parents, aware of their responsibility to God and to society, and it's up to them to conscientiously decide on the number of children they can have and educate according to their personal circumstances. Now, sexual intimacy expresses mutual love between spouses, but at the same time, okay, we've said this before, it is a channel for transmitting life, which is, remember, that is sort of the common purpose why they come together, right, is for having a family. So to separate these objectives is to disrespect the natural greatness of sexual intimacy and its purpose as a precious gift from God. Thus, the church teaches that contraception, which aims to deprive sex of openness of life, okay, that this then degrades the procreative act, the act of intimacy, and so it is morally unacceptable. Okay, so that it goes against the whole purpose of intimacy, which is designed, which is for procreation, and the purpose of marriage also, which is designed for having and nurturing a family. Okay, so furthermore, many forms of contraception also violate the fifth commandment. Remember what the fifth commandment is? Okay, that it says fifth commandment has to do with causing harm to another, physical harm to another. Okay, it's about safeguarding bodily integrity. So it violates that commandment because they harm or disable a properly functioning organ in a woman, so they shut down her reproductive system. Okay, just to be blunt, and they have very, very serious side effects. So then, so we can see then, so we have on the slide the contraception versus farm. So we can see how we saw how farm receives a positive evaluation. Contraception, which deliberately deprives sex of openness of life, that contradicts the very nature of marriage and intimacy, and also that many forms of contraception, they also violate bodily integrity. Catechism and the teachings of the church are very clear about that. Okay, what you could say just a little bit more about spacing births and so on. So, okay, farms may be used to space births when the intention is openness to life. Okay, farms are more anthropologically sound because they are based on discipline and self-control, okay, communication, understanding of marriage, and they and so and they are related to an understanding of the natural fertility cycle. So farms empower women with a greater knowledge of their bodies in order to make choices from their own awareness of self and their own imagination, their experience, their creativity, and their freedom. So all of that personal, that richness, that anthropological richness, okay, that all of this is brought to bear on that they're in terms of how they are, spacing births and managing their family. And they have no side effects, are very effective, and they are more affordable. Okay, the third point we have here on this slide is in vitro fertilization, or IVF. In vitro fertilization, okay, we can just lay it out. It is contrary to God's design for procreation. Okay, that's a clear teaching of the church. Human dignity demands that a child be conceived by its parents in a human and loving manner, and also in accord with the dignity of marriage. Now, a person is unconditionally welcomed and loved and is fruit of love when he or she is conceived in a sexual act of mutual self-giving between a man and a woman, between a one flesh union. IVF and all the practices that surround this technology, such as surrogacy, surrogate mothers, the freezing of embryos, choosing the sex and the genetic traits of children, and all of this, these are grave disorders. Okay, so that a man and woman marriage are together. And so they have children, it is always attached, connected together. It cannot be having it in a surrogacy with another person. Okay? Nor can it be, it is through this using sort of a technology, that that separates, that sort of destroys that one flesh union that is ought to characterize the procreation of new life. Lifestyle choices built around chastity and fertility awareness are the best defense against pathologies that make it difficult or impossible for a woman to conceive and to bring a child to term. Okay, so in other words, the church is very understanding and appreciates the challenge, and appreciates the suffering and the pain the woman goes through when she's unable to have a child. But the church, sort of speaks to that, in terms of science, in that Lifestyle choices built around chastity and fertility awareness have a proven effectiveness in terms of for safeguarding fertility, and so that way one can avoid the draw of IVF later on. So sort of having in mind having children, not leaving conceiving or having children for too late in life. So these are things. I mean, these are real things that science speaks about that can be done. So that a woman doesn't find herself in a place where it's difficult to conceive. And men, that applies to men as well. The proper lifestyle choices, and it puts men in a place where they are now more able to work with their wives to have a family and be open to even to a large family when if that is as according to their circumstances. So furthermore, there are also serious body integrity issues regarding the health of both the mother and the child that is involved in IVF. So that the whole process itself, the chemicals that are introduced into the mother, the risk of that there are often multiple births and multiple births, meaning children with low birth weights, the issues arising with that, and there's so many. There are lots of studies that speak about bodily integrity issues relating to the health both of the child and the mother involved in IVF. Not to mention the thousands of excess embryos, that are also destroyed. So the church affirms technology, but to be used always in a way that affirms the dignity of the human person and also of the marriage bond. We have said there have been certain ideologies that have sort of derailed education and chastity from what is core, which is the dignity of the marriage, the dignity of the human person, the dignity of intimacy, complementarity of the sexes. We are just going to touch on three of these ideologies. So the first, gender ideology. And so the gender ideology its roots are in feminism in the 80s and 90s, influenced by Judith Butler. It's a strange thing. It sort of says that the social norms, right, that society imposes on us, our understanding of me being a man or me being a woman, okay, and that they connected those to other things as well. There is underlying a desire to free, I guess, the world of prejudices, if you want, but the way they choose to do that is sort of saying that we just have to, those concepts like rich, poor, black, white, male, female, we have to empty all these terms of their content, seeing them as socially constructed and compelled kind of behaviors that are linked to them. And then, of course, united to that was that idea that, especially in terms of your sexuality, then has to be something that you just spontaneously choose, kind of has to be fluid. Okay, and that's sort of how that gives rise to freedom, and in some way addresses our inequalities. Okay, inequalities are real. It's true that we need to be free, but at the same time, that we ought to recognize that okay, there is there is biology, right? There's biology is real. We're male or female. We can't get away from biology, and that marriage is real, right? We can't get away from the complementarity of the sexes. That's real, okay? And the dignity of marriage, okay? Having a family, and family is real and very important. I mean, these are good things. These make us better people. We grow from these things, okay? So become better versions of ourselves. We can grow in love for each other and God. So gender ideology has aggressively influenced academia, the laws. 34 countries now allow for same-sex marriage. Oh my goodness. Entertainment, it's in sex education. Gender ideology is coming at us very strong, even here in the Caribbean. Some places allow for gender transitioning, which is very harmful to an individual. Very harmful to an individual. Okay, parents ought to protect their children from these influences by actively screening what enters their homes and by explaining to them the truth of human sexuality, what we've been saying. We stressed, especially from that slide when we spoke about education and chastity. The sexual revolution. The volatile social situation in the 60s and 70s gave rise to sort of a spirit of throwing off the past. Okay, it's linked to what we sort of touched on before. So saying that for freedom, freeing people are oppressed by all these social norms and structures. We're not denying that they were and do exist oppressive social structures and regimes. But then for the sake of freedom and throwing off the past, there's a sort of like the proverbial throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are a lot of murky things, but it's sort of allowing for freedom is expressed sort of in sexual freedom in a very special way. So this allowed this volatile situation of the 60s and 70s, throwing off the past for sort of a perceived freedom. It allowed for the sexual revolution to ignite with the spark of some persons who were very confused, seeking freedom and sexual expression, sexual license, but also by many who were just, in great part, just sick and so perverted, and were just using that the cultural welcome of sexual freedom to just engage in and justify the most bizarre and twisted forms of sexual indulgence. Okay, so that was unfortunately the sexual revolution. So again, then we haven't escaped that. Because of that the sexual revolution, we find then that young teenagers sort of exposed to this idea, that of freedom in sexual expression. Okay, but at a young age. So again, we parents ought to protect their children from these influences by actively, again, speaking with them, and also as they get older, ensuring that they understand, that they appreciate the dignity of the human person, they appreciate the dignity of marriage, the dignity of value of family life, the value of friendship, and they understand the means and the beauty of living holy purity. Radical feminism. We saw again how that was there already. It was feminism was something that was a good thing, but some of these ideologies, you can say, hijacked feminism. So there's sometimes these ideologies are connected in different parts of the feminist movement, which started off being a good thing. Okay, so but then there's radical feminism came to adopt again these sort of disordered or directed ideologies. So what is then? Radical feminism, it supports radical reproductive freedom where women are free to manipulate their bodies and express themselves sexually, uninhibited by what they consider to be socially imposed restrictions based on gender. So then they can gender transition, and then of course it's just all these divorce and contraception and abortion, and these are considered to be freedoms which we have seen really undermine the dignity of the human person who was meant to flourish in genuine, authentic friendships of respect with the opposite sex and in marriage and a family life. So history has proven then that women and all of society are not better off with these ideologies. So this sort of a radical feminism of this kind that has embraced all these different ideologies. Women are pressured to see themselves in competition with men, especially in the workplace. Okay, and that was an influence from Simone de Beauvoir. And this at the cost of having a stable marriage and children and having a family. They sort of have to compete, right? Okay. If needed, well, abortion, divorce, contraception, all of these are then seen as important rights. Christian anthropology needs to address the issues that gave rise to the feminist movement, and it does that, okay, by upholding the dignity of women, um, and also speaking about the complementarity of the sexes, their radical equality, and many other things, and so that men and women can work together in complementary ways, both in the family and also in the workplace. So Christian anthropology points us to women and women working together with a respect for their equal dignity, but in complementary ways, but for the good of for everyone, so that families are strong, and the workplace also can be also very strong, and they open new horizons, new powers, new possibilities for progress in society. Well, we have seen how education in chastity has had a rough time. We have lost some fundamental principles, all these other negative influences has thrown it off course. How do we turn the tide? In a discussion, I remember once a person was saying, well, one important thing is they get men to learn about women, to understand women better. You have to respect them, that men also, they need to learn how to deal with women. They need to learn how to speak with them, how to communicate proper, with them, and with that, a lot of things will be different. Okay, another person said very strongly, and this was a woman. Well, we women, once again, we have lost who we are. We need once again to just to sort of to take possession against of our who we are, our identity as women, that with our fertility, that we are childbearing, that we are the core in bringing in family, and to raise the standards, that if women need to have a dump him list, and if the men they don't match up, if they have all these addictions, if they come in without being able to commit, if they come in and they're not a person that you can marry, dump him. Dump him. And so that way men would have to then they would rise up to the standard, and so then that would be the turnaround, women setting the standards for chastity through modesty, for men, and then men would will conform. Well, what do you think? We can discuss it next time we meet. That's all. Bye.